So over the past few weeks I've been trying to get out and do at least an overnight hiking trip, but the weather and other circumstances haven't been cooperating. And I'm getting a little anxious to get out there and practice my skills, so I'm just going to do a little attempt at baking some bread with my camp stove and all my camp supplies. I'm just going to do it in my kitchen just to practice, that way if it doesn't work, I know before I'm out there. So what I've got here is a quarter cup of water. I found out that these light my fire sporks, roughly a tablespoon if you do it heaping. So I'm going to take a heaping tablespoon of sugar plus a little bit more of sugar. And I'm going to dissolve as well some yeast. It's supposed to be about half a teaspoon, so roughly about that much. Great thing about bread baking is it's not 100% accurate science. You can be plus or minus some things. This is all I did was Google white bread and took the first recipe I saw, which was listed as an Amish white bread. I scaled it down for my Trangia pot, my little single person one. And I'm going to try doing kind of a double boiler baking system. I've never tried this before, so I'm curious whether it actually works. We'll see how it goes. I'm just going to let this dissolve nice and good in here. Let it proof a little bit, let the yeast wake up a bit, and then once that's done I'll start the recording again and give you the rest of it. 10 minutes and the yeast has been starting to wake up a little bit. What I have done in the meantime is put 3/4 of a cup of white bread flour into my camp bowl. Could even be all-purpose flour, use some whole grain, multigrain, whatever you want to do. I'm just starting simple, giving myself the best chance of success. What the recipe calls for is to put about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt in with the water. So I'll just shake some of that out there, dump that in, and a teaspoon and a half or so of vegetable oil. I normally make bread with shortening, so this will be different. That's about it. Close enough. We'll mix that together. And then, once this is all mixed up, nice and good, I'm going to add the two together. Let me just double check my recipe, make sure I'm not missing anything here. Nope, we're good. So I'm going to dump the yeast slurry, I guess you could call it, into the flour. And what I'm going to do is start with just stirring this all together, and then I'm going to start kneading it in just a second here. So I'm just going to stir this up. If needed, I'll add more water if it's too dry, and I'll add more flour if it's too wet. Which I think I'm definitely going to have to add more water. So, let me grab that. It's better to go nice and slow, little bits at a time until you get the right amount. Otherwise you'll just be going back and forth, back and forth. So this is seeming like it'll be pretty good here. It's getting to be about that right texture for it. It's a good idea when you're kneading anyway, for anyone who hasn't made bread before, to have your fingers coated in flour anyway. It helps the dough stop from sticking. Nice thing about this small of a volume, it's very easy to just knead it in your fingers. If you're out on a canoe trip, convenient spot to, if you need a larger batch or on a hard surface, is just flip your canoe over. Be sure to give it a good wash and then use that as a nice surface for kneading your bread. So I'm going to work on this for a little bit. The longer you knead it, the smoother the dough will get. You want this to be a nice smooth dough. See how it's starting to get this stretchy consistency to it? That's what you're starting to look for. So now that the bread is all kneaded up, got a nice stringy dough, I'm going to take my bowl again. It's cleaned out. I'm just going to give it a little splash of oil. That was probably a little too much, but coat this around. Nice and good. There we go. I'm going to take my little thing of dough here that I've been holding in my other hand. Peel it off my fingers. There we go. Gonna get this nice and coated in the oil. There we go. Push it out there. Now what I'm gonna do is cover that with a damp cloth. If you're out camping, handkerchief, something like that. Just let it sit and rise for probably about an hour until it doubles in size. And then we'll go on to the next step after that. My dough has been rising for about an hour now. As you can see, it's gotten quite a bit bigger. What I've done in the meantime is I've gone ahead and just taken my little trangia pot here and lined it with some more oil. I'm going to take this dough out of here, transfer it into this pot. I have a feeling this is going to be quite chewy bread. I think it's a little too moist. I've never made this particular recipe before, so I'm not 100% sure. But it does feel pretty moist. But, oh well. This is why we experiment. Let's put it in there nice. Punch it down a bit. Get it nice in there, nice and easy. And I'm going to cover this again and let it rise for another 30-40 minutes or so. We'll see how it goes. Till it looks like it's about doubled in size. Alright, so as you can probably see here, the bread has risen quite a bit, doubled in size. I've got it floating in the pot from one of the larger Trangia sets, and I've got some stones lying on the bottom. Once I get the lid on here, it'll weight it down and it'll actually sit on the stones. I'm going to do a double boiler type system. The recipe calls for 30 minutes at 350. I know I'm not going to get a nice brown crispy crust on this, but I figure if I run this thing until it's basically burned a full burner down with the simmering on open, maybe I'll have a cooked through loaf of bread. We'll see. I'm just guessing at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to light the stove, get that going, let that warm up a bit. Alright, simmering's on there. What I'm going to do, take this pot, put it in. It's going to take a little while for this water to warm up. Ideally, should have had this water already a little warmer, but live and learn. So I put the little lid on here, the little frying pan. I'm going to take the big frying pan from the big set, put it on top, and that's just enough weight that it's kind of resting on there. If I need to, I'll just put the other pot on top there. Now, what'll probably happen, at least my theory is, the steam will heat the outside. It's going to create a nice little oven effect on the inside. But I'm isolating the bread from the direct heat at the same time. So I'm just going to let this run until I'm out. I'm going to have to probably keep an eye on it, make sure that I keep topping up the water supply, and we'll go from there. Well, here's the end result of about 45 minutes of boil time, which is how long it took for the fuel to run out. As soon as I stopped recording when I first started, I decided to take the simmer ring off and go full blast the whole time. Just going to take a toothpick here, see if it comes out clean. It comes out perfectly clean. So I'm just going to get this thing out of here and come in. As you can see, it is definitely very, very spongy. Not like your typical loaf of bread, but if I cut into it here, let's see if it's cooked all the way through. Oh yeah, definitely cooked all the way through. There's no like totally raw spot. It probably could have used another 10 or so minutes and it would have been perfect, but you can see that this would be easily a good amount for 3 people. As a side dish in a meal, if you want to make it like a breakfast bread or something like that, then even they'd make a good meal for 2 people. Or if you're really hungry, 1 person. It does take quite a bit of time, so you're not going to do this as an on-the-move kind of thing, really, unless you're letting it rise in the bottom of your canoe or something. But if you're hiking, the logistics might be quite a bit harder. I'm just going to get some butter and jam and see how this tastes. Alright, got some marmalade and butter on here. We're going to take a first bite. Very good. Wonder how well this would taste toasted over the fire once it's baked. So, definitely a win. Has a really good flavor to it. I think this is definitely something I'm going to try out on the trail or on a canoe trip or something one time. It does take quite a bit more effort. It takes a lot of equipment. So it's not really something you would do as a solo thing. It would be more of when you're in a group and you have larger pots and that kind of thing. You can do the double boiler. As you saw, there's 2 pots that come with the Trangia set. One nests inside the other, so you could potentially do a much larger loaf. I just was doing this as a proof of concept, so I didn't want to make too much in case it didn't work. But definitely good. Now I'm probably going to eat the rest of this.